Hello and welcome to WJTS-Inform. I'm going to read some letters to you. SWICACC. What does that mean? Let's find out in this edition of WJTS-Inform. I'm Bill Potter, your host. Joining me in the studio is the coordinator for the SWICACC, and that is Tammy Lampert. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
I know it's written down right here, but I'm going to see if you know what the SWICACC is.
It stands for Southwestern Indiana Child Advocacy Center Coalition.
Wow. And do you call it the SWICAC?
SWICAC, yes.
SWICAC, okay. Well, the most important thing is child advocacy as part of this. What does your organization do?
Our organization was founded in 2009, and it was founded to, we noticed that Region 17 was underserved in child advocacy centers for the community and also the multidisciplinary teams that serve the children of Region 17.
Okay, now we've had you before and we've talked, and for some reason Crawford County keeps coming into my mind. Why is that?
Crawford County, the Crawford County Prosecutor's Office, the Crawford County Prosecutor Cheryl Hillenberg has really spearheaded the event, or I should say the organization. And she, the VOCA grant runs through the Crawford County Prosecutor's Office, and so that's where the funding channels through. And then, but we actually serve Region 17 in Indiana, which consists of Crawford, Davies, DuBois, Martin, Orange, Perry, and Spencer. Okay,
so it's a much bigger area than what you're serving.
Yes,
yes. What is another word for child advocacy? Standing up for kids, taking care of them?
Like a child advocacy center is it's meant to be a neutral, safe location for the child who's alleged to be a victim of abuse to come and report that abuse. We strive very hard to have the child advocacy centers community-centered so that it is geared and focused towards the community, because all the communities are different. You know, for example, the child advocacy center that may work for Marion County would not necessarily work for DuBois County.
Okay.
And so we strive very hard to make sure that they are, you know, safe, they're friendly, they're neutral. When you go into a child advocacy center, for example, there'll be an interview room, and in the interview room there are 2 interview chairs, and then there's a drawing pad on an easel, and that's all that's in there. And that's just to prevent distraction for the child and have them feel comfortable. The chairs are usually smaller, geared towards the children as opposed to adult size, so that they have even more, you know, they're even more comfortable in the setting.
Where is there one center for Region 17 or 17 centers, or how does that?
There are, well, I'm glad you asked that because, for example, DuBois County does have a house that's been donated by Memorial Hospital, and inside that house there is a waiting area for the family who meets with the victim's advocates, and then there's a multidisciplinary team room, which is where the multidisciplinary team meets and watches the interview. And so what happens is the child is taken into the interview room with a trained forensic interviewer, and the trained forensic interviewer conducts a neutral, child-friendly interview with the child while the multidisciplinary team watches. The interviewer has an earpiece in her ear, so that way the team can relay questions, and the child only has to be interviewed that one time in that one setting.
By one person.
By one person, yes. And it's, and the child, when they come in the lobby, they can color, they can play, and get comfortable before they're taken back for the interview. The forensic interviewer is trained, specifically to talk to children and not ask leading questions, and just let the child talk. It's funny because we say our job is to talk to children, but really our job is just to listen to them.
How do the children get to that point? Is it through the sheriff's office? Is it through somebody like Crisis Connection? Is it a direct contact?
It's what should happen is all reports of abuse and neglect should go filter through the Division of Child Services hotline, and then that comes down to the DCS office. And then sometimes it does go through law enforcement if they get the phone call instead of going through the hotline, but that's the way it channels down. And then the team, Division of Child Services or law enforcement, they collaborate and they set up the interview for the child and the family to come to the Child Advocacy Center.
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my head around this. This is not necessarily something that happens within an hour of, say, abuse. It might be something that's scheduled?
It's usually scheduled for the child so that it is done when the child is most comfortable, that being not in the middle of the night, not if the child's sick. But there are, there are certain situations to where if they get a call and the child's safety is in danger, they could take them for that interview sooner.
Who determines that that interview should be conducted?
Usually what I've seen so far is the Department of Child Services or law enforcement, or even, the prosecutor. If the law enforcement has a case and they, go to the prosecutor with the case and then they say, yeah, let's get an interview on that child. Is
there another office other than DuBois County in Region 17?
There is. Crawford County, they have their child advocacy located in their Milltown Municipal Department building. And then in Daviess County, they are working on having a location in the German American Bank in Washington, and that location is going to serve Daviess and Martin County. Orange County is currently searching for a stationary site. The Southern Hills in Paoli has been so gracious and lets them use a space when they need it, and they have mobile equipment to be able to go to that location to do so. And then in Perry County, the Perry County Memorial, they have donated space in their clinic for Perry County to have a child advocacy center. And then in Spencer County, they have theirs set up in the prosecutor's office.
Okay, so
it's very different. It's very different throughout the region, but it works for that community.
So these teams that do the analyzing, I guess if that's the right word, the questioning.
The multidisciplinary teams,
yes.
That consists of the prosecutors, Division of Child Services, law enforcement, the forensic interviewer, the victims advocates. So,
okay. Now, somebody like the forensics interviewer sounds really complicated. Is it one person that serves all of Region 17, or is the forensic interviewer for DuBois County only does DuBois County?
Well, each community is kind of different, and we're very fortunate because the team is great. I'm trained as a forensic interviewer, so I can do interviews for the entire region. We had a situation for, I think it was Martin County had, I believe, 7 or 10 victims. It was quite a large number. And one of the team members from Perry County came up to help. I helped. One of the team members from DuBois County came to help. So it worked out really nice. Everybody works together, and I think it's just kind of common sense that if you work together, things are easier than if you try to do it all by yourself. And so when they work together as a team, the outcome is so much better than, and there's been studies done to where if a child abuse allegation and investigation is done as in a child advocacy center with a multidisciplinary team, it saves an average of at least $1,000 per case. Wow. Because of the, they're coming together, they're meeting at that one time. The investigation can go that much faster because everyone's at the table to know where we need to go next. You get a lot more information by doing the forensic interview with the child as opposed to, a law enforcement officer going up in full uniform trying to talk to a little 5-year-old or who's maybe been told repeatedly their whole entire life that, law enforcement's bad, they're going to put me in jail or they're going to take you away, so it streamlines everything a little bit more too. So
it's really heartbreaking that we even have to have your services.
It is heartbreaking that we have to have the services. It is.
And do you find that all of the agency, that you deal with are aware of what you do? Is there a connection that still needs to be made with law enforcement or
I definitely
folks like
think
that?
so, yeah. I'm a firm believer, though, that we never stop learning and we never stop, and so I think that, when you have new officers come on or, for example, if you have the sheriff's departments and they have elected officials, depending on if their sheriff is in agreement with the Child Advocacy Center or, in support of it, as opposed to if they don't know a lot about it at this point and things like that. So I know we have a great relationship with the Division of Child Services, with local law enforcement, with Crisis Connection, with Hoosier Hills Pact, and, and the prosecutors. And so I think, though, for the organization itself, it's been around since 2009, and I feel like it has not been promoted as much as it should be. For the entire community to know that if something does happen to a child, there are people out there that do care, that do want to make it better, and help start the healing process for that child. So,
are there signs that people can? I guess I'm going to ask you about signs, but you're not really so much for people just to contact you and say, "I need some help." They're going to have to go through another agency first,
yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you think people need to watch for with abuse?
Oh, I'm not an expert on that at all, Bill.
Okay.
But funny you should ask that because we actually have a training coming up September the 3rd here in Jasper.
All right.
By a national presenter. It's Rita Farrell Johnson. She is a national presenter with Gunderson Health, and so she's coming, and the training is going to be first responder to child abuse training, and that's geared towards, you know, law enforcement, school professionals, maybe religion teachers, nurses, anybody that might come in that contact with that first outcry from the child as to how to handle that, what to look for, and where do we go from here? Who do we contact from here to make sure that there's an example that always sticks out in my head, that if a child comes to school and you know, tells the teacher whatever had happened over the weekend, and the teacher says, oh, okay, well, let's go tell the counselor, and the counselor says, okay, let's go tell the nurse, okay, let's go tell the principal. By the time the child gets to that forensic interview, they've talked to maybe, you know, 8, 10 different people, and not in a good location either, not in a safe setting, not to where they can get everything out. And then they also have those 8 people, not intentionally by any means, possibly causing some kind of influence on what, you know, what they're saying or what their story is, or asking leading questions to where their story may get changed, as opposed to if it went into the one and they just said what happened, you know.
Okay, and this event's coming up. It's past the deadline, but if somebody wanted to register for it, for first responders, they could still contact your office.
Absolutely, yes. And I can be reached by my email, and it's swicacc@gmail.com.
Okay. Now, Tammy, yours is an organization that does need to raise funds.
Yes.
As well as awareness.
Yes.
And you have a run coming up in October we want people to plan for.
We do. We have a, it's Strong Bodies, Safe Families, and it's in memory of Rick McGill. And he was with the Indiana State Police, and he was just such an advocate for children, especially in Region 17. He had a big influence on getting the mobile equipment, making sure that the child did receive the best services and the best interview possible. And so we're doing that in memory of him also this year. And that is on October the 4th. And we have 2 locations actually this year. We're going to have, one of the locations is in Milltown, and that will be the on-road course. And it's the hilliest 5K I've ever done, but it was beautiful. It's a beautiful area. And then we're also going to have, one of the locations is in Du Bois County at the Du Bois County 4-H Fairgrounds.
Okay, and both the same day?
Both the same day, both start at 8:30.
Okay, and like a lot of walks, you can show up that morning and register, but you probably like them to pre-register if they can.
Yes, they can show up that morning and register, that's fine, but they will not be able to get a t-shirt unless they pre-register.
Okay, and how do they do that?
They can contact me by email, and I can send them a registration form. We do have some registration forms out at some of the local gyms and things like that. I know several of the businesses were going to try and put it either in their newsletter or upload it to their website or something like that too, for people to be able to access. I don't know if Channel 18 has the access to upload the registration form, and people could go to the website
and get
it
on
that
our
way
website.
too.
Yes,
Yeah,
and same for WBDC's website.
Excellent, good.
Okay. Well, Tammy, thank you very much for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope folks have learned something about the Southwest Indiana, I have to look at this because it's a long title, Southwest Indiana Child Advocacy Center Coalition. It's good to know that you folks are out there doing the good work that you do.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being on. Tammy Lampert, who is the coordinator for SWICAC, has been with us. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.